Hey guys, it's Brandon. Going to have a 15-minute game today, and we're going to be doing a dual commentary with Gato Negro, or as you guys know him, Majnu. And Majnu's been around with his excellent channel for a while, so he'll be doing commentary as well. So I'll put the link to that up as well at the end of this video. Let me just see if he's ready to go here. So his rating is 2151 here on ChessCube, so he's a very strong player. A little bit lower than mine, but that really doesn't mean much. He's more than strong enough to beat me. So, okay, let's see if my mouse behaves. I'm going to open with d4. I'm expecting the Benoni from him. I think he's a pretty devout follower of the Benoni. I don't know, maybe he's picked something different up recently. Nope, here comes the Benoni. I'm not exactly sure which variation he plays, but I think it's the modern Benoni. So, the Benoni is a very dynamic defense. Yeah, the modern Benoni. Very dynamic, very, I guess you would say, edged. His pawn center, or his pawn in the center, in exchange for queen side. But he gets a nice dark square bishop, nice dark square control, and a pawn side majority, pawns on the queen side in majority. So I like this H3 system here. And the idea of this H3 system is to just stop any bishop d4 moves from coming in, because if black would like to play bishop g4, pinning the knight, and because the light square bishop is sort of a piece that's a little bit difficult for black to place. Sorry, it's a little early in the morning for me, and I'm just sort of gathering my thoughts here. The light square bishop is a little bit difficult for black to figure out something to do with. So often it's good to give up this bishop for the knight on f3, which controls the dark squares that black is really trying to stake a claim on. Okay, rook to e8 is a standard move, just putting pressure on the e pawn. I'm going to castle and probably play rook to e1 next. Possibly bishop to f4. Trying to put pressure on the d6 pawn. The other point of this move h3 is that when the bishop comes to f4, it can sometimes hide on h2 after knight to h4, knight to h5 kind of things, where it continues to put pressure on the d6 point, which is black's sort of weakness. Another move I might consider would be knight to d2. Okay, so he played h6. Which I guess he's trying to stop me from playing bishop to g5. He might also play g5, but I'm not sure. I think I'm just going to make a standard Benoni move and play rook to e1, just trying to overprotect the e pawn. And then I can think about bishop to f4. Has to develop knight. This knight usually comes to 7. So a6. Alright, so with this move a6, he's red pawn majority with b5. The response to that for white is to play a4, just to try to slow down any expansion. I have the knight, the bishop, and the pawns trying to slow down any b5 expansion. So if he wants to get in b5, he's going to have to develop these pieces and play like rook b1 or something. This is a pretty standard response. Whenever you see a6 in the Benoni, you should just out of habit play a4 as white. So he's thinking a little bit here, and we'll see what happens in the position. I think knight bd7 is a pretty standard move. And if he plays knight bd7, what should I do? Probably bishop f4. Seems logical. Yeah, that's a pretty standard development move. From there, the knight controls c5 and tries to hold up the e5 advance for black. And, well, I don't know. I'll just put my bishop out onto f4. That's the whole objective in this opening, in this formation of the Benoni. So I'm immediately targeting this d6 pawn. I think he has to play queen c7 or e8 now to protect it, or move the knight to e5. Okay, queen c7 is pretty standard. The other thing about queen c7 is that it prepares the move c5, which is the move that black is really looking to get into in this position, because when he plays the move c5, it'll chase this bishop. It gives the c5 square for the knight, excuse me, 4. Sorry, plays c4, freeing the c5 square, and possibly creating a nice square, a nice outpost for a knight on d3, which is a bit of a weakness in my position. So the question is, should I play knight d2 to try and prevent him from playing c5? If I play knight d2, he'll play knight e5, probably. And then I'll have to move my bishop. Maybe bishop to f1. Bishop e2, I'm not sure. But I'm going to try and slow down this move, c4, also possibly prepare my f-pawn to move at some point after bishop h2. I'm expecting knight e5 in response. And well, I'm not sure how to respond to that yet. Bishop e2, bishop c2. Bishop f1. I'm not sure if it makes a huge difference. But my plan in general will be to play the bishop back to h2 and try to get in f4 and e5. Of course, that's the main pawn break for white in these Benoni positions, where he's been giving a pawn majority in the center. Yeah, knight to e5 is pretty standard move here. Where to put the bishop, I'm not really sure. I'm not sure if it matters a whole lot. For safety's sake, I guess I could put it on f1. Yeah, I'll put it on f1. So maybe this didn't actually hold up c4, now that I think of it. Although if he does play c4, I can take the knight and then take the pawn. So you can't play c4 at the moment. So what I'd like to do now is play bishop back to either g2 or h2, and then push f4 to chase this knight off of the e4 point, off of the e5 point, and then try to play e5. Alright, so he's just developing here, and I think I'm just going to play bishop h2 to get the bishop and prepare f4. So I think it's probably time that now he's got his pieces out for him to come up with some kind of development plan. So he went with g5. That's an interesting move. I think he's trying just to stop me from breaking with f4, which is a good idea. But maybe create some weaknesses in the long run. I've played this type of position, this type of move in Benoni's before as well. So he's trying to kill my play with f4 here. I can't really argue too much with it, to be perfectly honest. Maybe I could try something similar against his play and play the move a5, trying to slow down his eventual b5 advance, which he can get in with rook b8 and then b5, or even b5 right now if he really wanted to. But it's not quite as easy to keep those pawns. The idea is that you split the pawns when you play as b5 with en passant, so it's not just a pawn mass rolling down the board, it's the a pawn and these two pawns. So my a pawn gets exchanged for his b pawn, so he does get the b file and can target b2. Alright, other ideas for me in this position. I could think about giving up the dark square bishop. Now that he's played g5, I could trade on e5 and try to play knight c4, b6 maybe, or just keep the knight on c4 where it's putting pressure on the d6 point. And okay, he's played knight to h7. I wonder if he's trying to relocate the knight via f8, g6, and into f4. That might be an interesting idea. But I think I'm going to chop this knight and follow it up with knight to c4. This is a very nice square for this knight, and it can never really be chased away. By any of black's pawns. The b pawn will never get to b5, and okay, rightfully so, he hangs on to his Benoni bishop. Can I go into b6 right away and really prevent a lot of his counterplay? I'm not sure. I think I kind of like the knight right now on c5, on c4, just holding up some pressure on the d6 point. Maybe I'll just bring this bishop back to life a little bit. It's not doing much on f1. Not that it's doing so much on d3, but I think it's at least developed a little better. I don't think there's any real need for me to leave it around for defense of the king. My king is mostly safe, mostly because he's chosen to put his queen on c7 rather than e8, where it might have had some ways into getting into the king. So I think he's going with this plan to get the knight onto f4. And I can't say I can argue with it too much. The question is, can I play e5? The idea is if I play e5 and he takes with the pawn, then I push forward with d6. This is a pretty common idea in the Benoni. And if he wants to give me the dark square bishop, no, he'll still have to end up retaking with the pawn at some point on on e5. So I think e5 is a nice move here. And if he retakes with the if he takes with the pawn, my plan is to play pawn to d6, attacking the queen, forcing the queen to move, and then maybe recapturing. Or maybe not. Maybe I can just play into knight to d5. Yeah, knight to d5 looks nice there. Oh, okay. So he decided to give me the bishop. I guess he didn't like the look of d6. So now what the question is, which piece will he take with the rook? Okay, now I think I should probably trade rooks and play d6. Can I play d6? Oh, I can't play d6 anymore, so I guess I have to play... Well, knight e4 is good. I have a check on f6 that could be dangerous. I can slide the queen in on f4, h4. Excuse me. My light square bishop is nice. Maybe I can play for moves like d6 and bishop c4. And I think this was the right moment to strike, just because this knight is still not near enough to f4 to cause me any terrible problems. If he plays f5, I might bail out with the check and grab his light square bishop. Might. Not sure. His bishop would leave a lot of... Actually, I might just think about taking that bishop anyway, just because there's so many undefended light squares in his position. Having played h6 and g5, this diagonal against the kink is maybe a little bit weak. This pawn on d5 is an isolated pawn, and that's a bit of a theme in the Benoni when you push the e5 pawn and he has to take with the pawn eventually. Okay, he did play f5. So should I bail out now and take the check is the question. I think I'll bail out, grab the bishop. No, I don't know, because then he can rush his kingside mass in. Should I play knight g3? I could play knight g3, putting pressure on this pawn on f5. Well, let's try that. I'll try knight g3. Putting pressure on the f5 pawn, hoping that he will press forward with f4. Okay, which he does, which gives me the e4 square again. Knight e4, bishop f5. Well, anyway, knight e4. I'm also renewing threats of d6 at some point. The king is still on the diagonal. d6 could be a threat, and then bishop queen b3 would be a check, and also hitting this pawn possibly. So, anyway, he gave me the e4. The real point of knight g3 was to try to get the e4 square back from my knight. And maybe I can slide the queen in. Okay, he did play bishop f5. I can play check and grab the light square bishop. Knight f6 check, bishop takes bishop. Maybe try to push the pawn. I'm not sure. I could play maybe queen h4 to try to get my queen in on the light squares. But that would walk into a pin on the knight. I could play d6 maybe. Try to push the pawn a square, but I'm not sure. I'm really not sure. Well, alright, let's play d6, hit the queen, open a diagonal against the king, and we'll see what happens here. I'm not sure where the queen should go. c6, hitting the knight, maybe. If queen c6, I think I'll play queen b3. Or bishop c4. Or can I play knight f6 check now? Well, he's got some weak light squares, so I think I'll play the check now and grab the bishop. I don't know if this is the best plan, but I'm going to try. So he has to take the knight back with the king, yep. And now, where to put my bishop? c2 maybe, so it doesn't block with the queen. Defense of the d-pawn. Rook to d8 seems pretty standard here, but I think I'm going to try to get in on these light squares if he plays rook to d8, something like queen h4, queen d3, something like that. Somehow his knight is actually on f8 is actually guarding some light squares, e6, g6, which are possible entry points for me. So, and his knight is actually doing a nice job of holding up my pawn. So I'm not 100% sure if this plan was very sound for me. And I still have a rook on a1 I should probably try to get in the game. So looking for something like queen d3 next, just to get on the light squares, just to try to drum something up against his king, which is walked down the board slightly. Getting a little bit of a time edge now. I've got 4 minutes, 15 seconds to his 2 minutes and 50 seconds now. So let's see what he comes up with. Rook d8 looks pretty standard to me. He could pick up a pawn. I think I'd have compensation for the pawn, though, with all these exchange and picking up these weak light squares. Yeah, rook to d8 seemed pretty normal to me. So I guess I have nothing to do but carry on with my my play on the light squares here. So he can pick up a pawn. Yeah. And now the idea is queen f5 check, I guess. Just getting into the position here. King g7. Fair enough. Yeah, this knight is just really doing a nice job of guarding these light squares, but maybe I just munch this pawn here. I was trying to calculate mate, if there was any mate, but it doesn't seem that there is. Okay, rook to f5. Or rook to f6. Is he planning f3 with this move? Maybe. Should I take this opportunity to get my rook on a1 into the game? He is walking into a pin here with this move. Is there some way for me to take advantage of that? Rook e1, knight to d7? Rook e1, knight d7. I'm not sure. Should I play my rook to e1 or d1? Let's try e1. Just bring a piece into the game, take control of the e file, and I'm just hoping that his weakened king will give some compensation for the pawn here. So he's played now knight to e6. And I'm actually not playing so quickly here. What about bishop to b3? Attacking the knight again? No, he just plays c4. Bishop e4. What if I play bishop e4, attacking the queen? Let's try to get my bishop into a better position with tempo. Just attacking the queen. We'll see where the queen goes. Oh, am I still down a pawn? Thought I had evened material up here. Okay, he's looking for a queen trade, which makes sense because I'm attacking his king. So maybe if I play queen takes queen, knight takes queen. I don't know if I have anything stronger. I don't know if I have a way in. His position is the problem. So I could just bail out and grab my pawn here, I guess. Yeah, that I guess I'll do. I can't really see anything better. So we're back to even pawns. Hard to say who's better in this position. I guess maybe you could argue my bishop is a little better than his knight. Maybe rook c1? Just attacking his pawn weakness here. I don't know if there's any great discoveries with the knight. Knight b6. Coming down to time issues here. King f6. Huh. I'm not sure what the point of that is. Should I get my bishop back? Maybe I can just move my bishop. Or can I take the pawn? Is there any reason I shouldn't take this pawn? Is there a knight discovery? Yeah, knight e6. Knight e6 would be bad. Well, I have to make a move. I'm coming into time pressure here. So let me get out of any discoveries. Okay, so he's played knight e6, just defending the pawn. Maybe I'll play rook d1. Of course, this will be the time that my mouse gives out. Knight d4. Yeah. Coming into some mouse trouble. But okay, I gotta just play on time here anyway. Okay, I'll pin that knight. Or does he have a check? Crap, I just dropped my bishop. He can play knight to f3 check. He didn't. So that gives me the chance to play. He could have played knight f3 check, picking up my rook, which was undefended. So that gives me the chance to get out of anything there. Just move this pawn. I don't know. I don't want to give the fork, so I'll stop him from landing. Let him have the fork, so I'll stop him landing the knight. Now maybe I can get my mate. This is becoming a bit of a time scramble, but I can try to get my rook to e8 and then try to put some pressure on his stuff. He's not letting me do that, so my my mouse is... I'm going to lose this game on time, it looks like. I'll try this just to break some stuff open. It seems that I'm going to probably lose the game on time. Maybe bishop to e4. Keep pressure on this pawn. Try to get a pass pawn here. Oh, I lost on time. I was going to try to play rook and push this pass pawn up the board. So, okay, an interesting game. I thought maybe I had a better position there for a little while, but I don't know. I was just too slow at the end. I'm not sure how this final position is. I did blunder the rook. Thankfully, he missed that. But I don't know. Maybe rook a1. I think rook a1 could be a strong move for me here. Unclear. I don't know. I was just thinking, he's asking what I think of the final position after rook a1. And then try just, yeah. Maybe the pawn on, the idea is maybe the pawn on a5 is tough to stop after I play rook to a1 there, but okay. He played some good moves in time pressure, and I just wasn't fast enough. So anyway, hope you guys enjoyed that game, and look for Manju's commentary. I'll post the link to his commentary in the description and in the video, and we'll see you next time.